The alien ship hung in Earth's orbit like a shimmering diamond, its surface reflecting the blue glow of the planet below. Inside the ship, Ambassador Red stood before the Federation Council's viewing screen, his four eyes blinking in disbelief as he reviewed the data about humans for the third time. "This cannot be correct," he said, pointing at the charts with one of his slender fingers. "These beings spend a third of their lives completely unconscious. How do they even manage to build cities?" The council members murmured among themselves. They had discovered many species across the galaxy, but none wasted so much time in an unconscious state. Most advanced civilizations had evolved beyond the need for long rest periods, requiring only short meditation breaks every few days. "Perhaps our scanners are malfunctioning," suggested Council Member Gray, her silver skin rippling with concern. No species could achieve spaceflight while being inactive for so many hours. But the scanners were working perfectly. As the alien ship's cameras zoomed in on different cities around Earth, they saw the same pattern everywhere. When darkness fell over each region, most humans would enter their dwellings and become unconscious for several hours. Their brain activity dropped, their muscles relaxed, and they lay still as if dead. The Federation prided itself on running continuously. Their ships operated 24 hours a day, their factories never stopped, and their scientific research continued without pause. The idea of a civilization that simply turned off for hours at a time seemed absurd. Ambassador Red ordered more detailed scans. The results showed something even more shocking. Humans needed this sleep to function properly. Without it, they became confused, aggressive, and eventually died. It was not a choice. It was a biological requirement. "We should skip this planet," said one council member. "Any species so inefficient cannot contribute meaningfully to the Federation." But Ambassador Red wasn't so sure. Despite their strange sleep requirement, humans had built impressive cities, created complex technologies, and were on the verge of developing faster than light travel. They had achieved this while operating at what seemed to be one-third capacity. "There must be something we're missing," Red said, scratching his chin with his third hand. "No species survives evolution's tests without good reason. This sleep must serve some purpose we don't understand." The council decided to make contact, more out of curiosity than diplomatic necessity. They chose a small gathering of world leaders meeting in a city called Geneva. As the alien ship descended through the clouds, they expected chaos and panic. Instead, they found the humans remarkably calm and organized. The first meeting was scheduled for what humans called morning. Ambassador Red waited in the conference room with his team, all of them running on peak efficiency after their standard 2-hour meditation period. The human representatives arrived looking refreshed after something they called a good night's sleep. "Welcome to Earth," said the lead human diplomat, smiling warmly. "We hope you weren't too confused by our sleeping patterns. Your probes weren't exactly subtle." Red's antenna twitched in surprise. "You knew we were watching." "Of course. We may sleep, but our detection systems don't." The human's response carried no anger or accusation, only amusement. "Would you like some coffee? It's how we jumpstart our systems after sleep." The meeting progressed smoothly, but Red couldn't stop thinking about the mystery of human sleep. The humans spoke of dreams, of waking up with solutions to problems they couldn't solve while awake, of creativity flowing better after rest. It seemed impossible. Yet here they were, matching the aliens' diplomatic skills, despite spending hours unconscious just earlier. As the day ended, the human diplomats excused themselves, explaining they needed to rest before tomorrow's negotiations. Red watched them leave, wondering if perhaps the Federation's definition of efficiency needed revision. Back on the ship, Red filed his first report to the Federation Council. Humans present a unique paradox. Their biological need for sleep appears to be their greatest weakness, yet they have thrived despite it. Or perhaps, and this requires further study, they have thrived because of it. I recommend full diplomatic relations and immediate scientific investigation into this sleep phenomenon. There may be more to this unconscious state than we realize. The council approved his recommendation, though many members remained skeptical. None of them could have guessed that this seemingly primitive requirement for sleep would soon reshape their understanding of consciousness, efficiency, and power across the galaxy. Dr. Mark Stone stared at his computer screen, his eyes red from lack of sleep. The irony wasn't lost on him. He'd spent so many hours studying sleep that he barely got any himself. But today was different. Today, the numbers finally made sense. 3 months had passed since the aliens arrived, and their presence had pushed human science forward in unexpected ways. Their advanced brain scanning technology, combined with Earth's extensive sleep research, had revealed something extraordinary. The lab was quiet except for the soft hum of machines. Next door, 20 volunteers slept in specially designed pods while the most powerful scanners ever built recorded their brain activity. Stone had expected to see the usual sleep patterns, the deep sleep waves, the dream state spikes. Instead, he saw complex mathematical solutions forming in their minds. He grabbed his phone and called his research partner. "Jack, you need to see this. Remember that engineering problem the aliens couldn't solve? Our sleeping volunteers just solved it. All of them. At the same time." Jack arrived within minutes, still wearing his pajamas. They watched together as the sleeping minds worked through problems that supercomputers struggled with. One volunteer, an art teacher with no physics background, was somehow working out quantum calculations in her sleep. It's like their brains join some kind of universal problem-solving network when they sleep, Jack whispered, afraid to speak too loudly near the sleeping volunteers. But how is this possible? Before Stone could answer, Ambassador Red walked into the lab. The alien had taken a special interest in their sleep research and often visited unannounced. His 4 eyes widened as he looked at the data streams. "Impossible," Red said, moving closer to the screens. "These patterns, they match our most advanced quantum computers. But these are organic brains, sleeping organic brains." Stone nodded excitedly. "We're not wasting time when we sleep. Our brains enter a different state of processing. While our conscious mind rests, our sleeping mind connects to something bigger. We're not sure what it is yet, but it's solving problems far beyond our normal capabilities." The discovery spread quickly through the scientific community. More sleep labs were built, and more volunteers came forward. Each night, as billions of humans slept, their minds were doing more than just resting. They were processing vast amounts of data, solving problems, and making connections that their waking minds couldn't grasp. The aliens brought in their best scientists to study the phenomenon. They discovered that human brains during sleep could tap into quantum fields that their most advanced computers couldn't access. While humans slept, their minds somehow connected to a natural quantum network that spanned the entire universe. It's like every sleeping human mind becomes a quantum processor, Stone explained at a packed conference. "We're not losing time by sleeping. We're accessing a level of reality we can't reach while awake." The breakthrough came when a young engineer figured out how to record and translate the sleep processing into usable data. They called it dream mining. Special pods could now store the complex calculations and solutions that people produced while sleeping. Ambassador Red sent an urgent message to the Federation Council. "We were wrong about human sleep. What we thought was a weakness is actually the most powerful computing system we've ever encountered. A single sleeping human can process more quantum data than our best machines, and there are billions of them." The aliens had to admit that their initial judgment had been wrong. Humans weren't wasting time by sleeping. They were accessing abilities that other species couldn't comprehend. Every night, as human cities grew quiet and people drifted off to sleep, their minds were revolutionizing the understanding of the universe. Stone looked at his latest results with satisfaction. In just one night, sleeping volunteers had solved problems that would have taken alien supercomputers years to process. But something about the data suggested this was just the beginning. The real question wasn't what sleeping human minds could do. It was what they would discover next. He turned to Ambassador Red, who had become a regular presence in the lab. Still think we're wasting 8 hours a day. Red's antenna twitched in what Stone had learned was a sign of amusement. Dr. Stone, I suspect your species hasn't been sleeping all these years. You've been practicing. The first sleep engine looked nothing like what anyone had expected. Instead of the massive, complex machine the aliens had planned to build, it was a simple silver pod just big enough for one person. Jack stood back and admired their work while Dr. Stone made the final adjustments. All this fuss over what's basically a fancy bed, Jack said, running his hand along the smooth surface. The pod hummed softly, its inner systems ready to connect with a sleeping human mind. The alien engineers had wanted to build something much bigger, but Stone had insisted on keeping it simple. Humans need to feel comfortable to sleep properly, he had explained to Ambassador Red. Make it too complicated, and their minds won't relax enough to reach deep sleep. Today was the first real test. After months of preparation, they would attempt to power a small spacecraft using nothing but the processing power of a sleeping human mind. The aliens watched with a mixture of doubt and curiosity as the test pilot, Tom, climbed into the pod. Just try to sleep normally, Stone told him. The pod will do the rest. Tom nodded and closed his eyes. The pod's soft blue light dimmed, and the monitoring screens came to life. Everyone watched as Tom's brain waves shifted from waking to sleeping patterns. But these weren't normal sleep patterns. They were amplified, enhanced by the pod systems. In the small spacecraft connected to the pod, systems began to power up. Navigation computers flickered to life. Engine diagnostics ran themselves. The ship's artificial gravity stabilized. All of this happened while Tom simply slept, his mind unknowingly performing millions of calculations per second. Ambassador Red's 4 eyes blinked rapidly as he watched the data flow. The energy output is 3 times higher than our best quantum computers, he said, his voice filled with wonder. And he's just sleeping. The real surprise came 2 hours into the test. The ship's computers started solving problems they hadn't even programmed into them. The sleeping mind wasn't just running the ship, it was improving it, finding better ways to use energy, more efficient paths through space. It's like the ship and the sleeping mind are working together, Jack said, pointing to the streams of data. The pod isn't just channeling the sleep processing, it's creating a partnership between human and machine. Word of the successful test spread quickly. Soon, scientists and engineers from both Earth and the Alien Federation were working together to build more sleep engines. They found that different people had different strengths while sleeping. Some were better at navigation, others at power management, and still others at solving engineering problems. The pods evolved too. The second generation could link multiple sleepers together, combining their mental processing power. The third generation added the ability to store and transfer sleep process data, allowing others to build on the solutions found during sleep. A month after the first test, they launched the first sleep-powered starship. Its crew worked in shifts, half awake to handle immediate tasks, half asleep in pods, their minds powering the ship's systems and solving the complex problems of space travel. The aliens had to completely rethink their understanding of efficiency. The human need for sleep, which they had seen as a weakness, had turned out to be the key to a whole new type of technology. Their own ships, running on pure machine power, suddenly seemed primitive in comparison. Stone stood in the mission control room, watching the feeds from dozens of sleep engine pods. Each one showed the same beautiful pattern of brain waves, humans doing their most complex work while peacefully sleeping. On the screens above, the first fleet of sleep-powered ships prepared for their maiden voyage. Ambassador Red walked up beside him. "Do you remember when we first arrived?" the alien asked. "We thought you were wasting time by sleeping. Now look, you've revolutionized space travel by taking a nap." Stone smiled as he watched another pod power up, its soft blue glow a reminder of how far they'd come. "Maybe that's why humans always dreamed of reaching the stars," he said. "Our sleeping minds knew something we didn't. They knew the way there." In sleep pods across the Earth, humans drifted off to sleep, their minds reaching out to touch the fabric of space itself. As they dreamed, their thoughts powered the engines that would carry humanity to the stars. The age of the sleep engine had begun, and with it, humanity's true journey into space. Red made a note in his personal log. The humans have not only mastered their need for sleep, they have turned it into their greatest strength. I suspect this is only the beginning of what they will achieve with their dreams. The first human colony ship looked strange to alien eyes. Unlike their own vessels filled with busy workers at all hours, half of the ship's crew was always asleep in their silver pods. Yet the ship moved faster and worked better than any other in the Federation's fleet. Captain Bill watched from the bridge as his ship approached the distant solar system. The night shift had just begun, which meant half his crew was entering their sleep pods. He smiled as the ship's systems got noticeably faster, the sleeping minds taking over the complex calculations needed for deep space travel. "Status report," he asked his second-in-command, Mike. "The sleeping crew has taken over navigation," Mike said, checking his displays. "They're finding a faster route through the asteroid field ahead. And look at this. They've improved our engine efficiency by another 3% while solving that radiation shield problem we had yesterday." The ship's double shift system had turned out to be more efficient than anyone expected. While the awake crew handled immediate tasks and emergency responses, the sleeping crew's minds worked through the bigger problems. They could process vast amounts of data, predict potential issues, and even improve the ship's systems, all while getting their required rest. In the ship's sleep chamber, 20 crew members lay in their pods, their minds linked to the ship's systems. Through their dreams, they saw the paths between stars, calculated gravity wells, and monitored thousands of ship functions. The aliens had started calling it dream driving, the art of navigating space through sleep. Back on Earth, more colony ships were being built. Each one carried sleep engines that were more advanced than the last. The pods could now link sleeping minds across multiple ships, creating vast networks of problem-solving power. When linked, the sleepers could share their discoveries and improvements instantly across the entire fleet. Ambassador Red stood in the Federation Council chamber, presenting the latest reports. "The humans have established 3 new colonies in the past month," he said, pointing to a star map. "Their ships operate at peak efficiency around the clock, thanks to their split-shift system. While half the crew sleeps, their minds power the ships. While half the crew works, their bodies rest and prepare for the next shift." The council members watched in amazement as more human ships appeared on the map. The aliens had always thought that constant activity was the key to progress. Now they saw a different way. A system where rest and work happened at the same time, each making the other more efficient. "Their sleeping minds do more than just power the ships," Red continued. "They solve problems we haven't even discovered yet. Last week, a sleeping crew member found a way to improve our translation systems. They saw the solution in a dream." The expansion continued quietly but steadily. Human colonies spread across the galaxy, each ship carrying its cargo of both awake and sleeping crew members. The sleeping minds formed a vast network, sharing discoveries and improvements across the stars. In his quarters on the colony ship, Captain Bill read the latest reports. His ship had just finished mapping the new star system, the work done mostly by the sleeping crew during their rest period. The awake crew had merely needed to confirm their findings and set up the marking beacons. "Captain," called Mike through the intercom, "you might want to see this. The sleep shift just designed an improved version of the colony pods. They say we can build them with local materials when we land." Bill looked out his window at the star-filled space. Humanity had dreamed of reaching the stars for thousands of years. Now they were doing it, not through constant work and struggle, but through a perfect balance of action and rest. The same sleep that ancient aliens had seen as a waste of time had become humanity's greatest tool for exploration. "Send the designs to the engineering team," he replied, "and make sure the sleep shift gets credit for the improvement. even if they won't remember designing it when they wake up. As his ship cruised between the stars, powered by the dreams of his sleeping crew, Bill thought about how far they had come. Humans weren't just surviving in space. They were thriving, expanding, improving. And they were doing it all while getting a good night's sleep. The warning came during the night shift. A hostile alien empire, unknown to the Federation, had appeared at the edge of human space. Their ships were unlike anything seen before, and they weren't responding to any attempts at communication. The Federation Council called an emergency meeting, but they knew their usual defensive strategies wouldn't be enough. In the main sleep research facility on Earth, Dr. Stone looked at the latest readings from the sleep engines. Something unusual was happening. All across human space, sleeping minds were reacting to the crisis before anyone even told them about it. "Look at this," he said to Ambassador Red, pointing at the data streams. "The sleeping minds are connecting in a new way. They're forming some kind of collective network." Red moved closer to the screens, his 4 eyes focusing on the patterns. "I've never seen anything like this. It's as if they sense the danger, even in their sleep." The patterns showed something extraordinary. Instead of working separately, the sleeping minds in colonies and ships across the galaxy were joining together. Their combined processing power was creating the largest computing network ever seen. A young technician rushed into the room. "Doctor, you need to see this. The sleep engines are producing defense strategies. Thousands of them. The sleeping minds are running simulations of every possible attack and defense scenario." Stone and Red hurried to the main control room. The screen showed an amazing sight. Millions of sleeping humans, their minds linked together, working as one vast intelligence. They called it the Dream Collective. In their sleep, humans were processing more data than all the Federation's computers combined. They predicted enemy movements, designed new defense systems, and even found ways to communicate with the hostile ships that the awake minds hadn't considered. "It's like they've created a living supercomputer," Red said in amazement. "But instead of electronic circuits, it's made of dreaming minds." The Federation Council quickly approved the Dream Collective's defense plans. They were unlike traditional military strategies. Instead of direct confrontation, the plans used complex movements through space, timed perfectly to contain and redirect the hostile fleet. As the enemy ships approached, the human response seemed almost like a dance. Sleep-powered ships moved in perfect coordination, their paths calculated by millions of dreaming minds. The hostile fleet found itself guided away from populated areas, their weapons rendered useless by defense systems that seemed to predict their every move. The Dream Collective didn't just defend. It found a way to communicate. While awake scientists struggled to understand the hostile aliens' language, sleeping minds discovered patterns in their signals that suggested a completely different form of communication. "They don't use words like we do," Stone explained to the Federation Council. "The Dream Collective figured out that they communicate through complex energy patterns. Our sleeping minds can understand them because they're already used to processing quantum data." Within days, the crisis was over. The hostile fleet hadn't fired a single shot. Instead, they were now in diplomatic talks with the Federation, thanks to the translation method discovered by sleeping humans. In his lab, Stone watched the Dream Collective continue its work. Even after the crisis, sleeping minds stayed connected, sharing information and solving problems across the galaxy. Every human who went to sleep now contributed to this vast network of knowledge and discovery. Ambassador Red made a new entry in his report to the Federation. "The humans have surpassed all our expectations. What we once saw as a biological weakness has become the most powerful force in known space. The Dream Collective represents a new form of intelligence, one that operates in the space between consciousness and sleep." Stone looked at the sleeping volunteers in their pods, each one connected to countless others across the stars. "You know what's funny?" he said to Red. "We spent thousands of years thinking we weren't doing anything while we slept. Turns out we were practicing for this moment all along." The screen showed the endless stream of discoveries flowing from the Dream Collective. New technologies, scientific breakthroughs, and solutions to problems that had puzzled the galaxy's best minds for centuries. And all of this happened while humans did what they did best: got a good night's sleep. The alien scientist floated in his rest chamber, trying to sleep for the first time in his life. Around him, the Sleep Study Center's machines recorded his brain patterns. Like many members of his species, he had volunteered for the Human Sleep Adaptation Program. Down the hall, Dr. Stone watched the readings with interest. After the success of the Dream Collective, every alien species in the Federation wanted to understand human sleep. Some even tried to copy it, hoping to gain the same abilities that had made humans so powerful. "How long has he been trying?" Ambassador Red asked, entering the room quietly. 3 hours, Stone replied. "That's longer than most manage on their first try. They're so used to being active all the time, their minds don't know how to shut down." The attempt to teach aliens to sleep had unexpected results. While most species couldn't truly sleep like humans, the research led to new discoveries about consciousness itself. Different species found their own ways to enter sleep-like states, each one unique. In a nearby chamber, a group of alien engineers tested their latest invention, a machine designed to simulate human sleep patterns. It could process data like a sleeping human mind, but it wasn't the same. The natural dream state calculations of a single sleeping human still worked better than their best copies. "You can't just copy thousands of years of evolution," Stone explained to a group of Federation scientists. "Human sleep isn't just about resting. It's about entering a different state of consciousness, one that connects to the quantum fabric of the universe itself." The Federation changed as more species explored different states of consciousness. Some found they could enter meditation states that worked a bit like sleep. Others developed technology that helped them experience something close to dreams. Spaceships started including rest chambers designed for each species' unique way of processing information. In the Federation's capital, a new building stood out among the others. They called it the Consciousness Research Center. Inside, scientists from hundreds of species studied different states of awareness. The human sleep engines were just the beginning. Now each species was discovering its own hidden mental abilities. "It's not about copying human sleep anymore," Red explained to the Federation Council. "Each species is finding its own path to higher consciousness. The humans just showed us it was possible." The old Federation idea that constant activity meant progress started to fade. Species that had never rested before discovered the benefits of quiet contemplation. Some found they could solve problems better after periods of mental stillness. Others developed new technologies based on their unique mental states. Stone walked through the Sleep Study Center, passing chambers designed for dozens of different species. Each one was trying to find its own balance between action and rest, movement and stillness. The humans hadn't just changed space travel. They had started a revolution in how the galaxy's beings thought about consciousness itself. In the main observation room, screens showed sleep studies happening across the Federation. Some species had developed group meditation practices that let them share thoughts like the Human Dream Collective. Others found they could enter trance states that helped them understand complex problems in new ways. "We used to think we were teaching them about sleep," Stone said to Red as they watched the studies. "But really, we're all learning about consciousness together. Each species brings something new to our understanding." A young alien student approached them, her silver skin glowing softly. "Is it true," she asked, "that humans knew about this power all along? That you spent all those years sleeping without knowing what you were really doing?" Stone smiled. "Sometimes the best discoveries are the ones that were right in front of us all along. We thought we were just closing our eyes and dreaming. Turns out we were practicing the most advanced form of consciousness in the galaxy." In sleep chambers across Federation space, beings of all species explored new states of mind. Some found peace in stillness, others discovered hidden mental abilities, and all of them learned from each other. The galaxy was changing, one dream at a time. Red made his final note of the day. "The humans didn't just show us a new technology. They showed us a new way of being." In seeking to copy their sleep, We have each found our own path to greater awareness. Perhaps that was the greatest gift of their supposed weakness. It taught us all to look deeper into ourselves. 10 years had passed since humans first revealed the power of sleep to the galaxy. The Federation's main chamber looked very different now. Gone were the old signs of constant activity and endless motion. Instead, the Great Hall held both awake and sleeping representatives from every species. The sleeping humans lay in their pods around the edges of the room, their minds linked to the Dream Collective, while their awake colleagues handled the immediate discussions. Ambassador Red stood at the center of the chamber, preparing to make his final speech before retirement. He looked around at the faces of so many species, remembering how they had all once thought humans were wasting their time by sleeping. A decade ago, he began, we discovered a species that spent a third of their lives unconscious. We thought they were inefficient. We were wrong. Today, we gather in the capital of what is now called the Dreamers Alliance, where humanity's greatest perceived weakness has become the foundation of our civilization. The chamber's screen showed live feeds from across the galaxy. Sleep-powered ships moved between the stars, their crews working in perfect shifts. On countless worlds, research centers studied consciousness in all its forms. The Dream Collective had grown into a vast network of sleeping minds that guided the development of entire solar systems. In his old lab on Earth, Dr. Stone watched the speech with a smile. The original sleep engine sat in a museum now, replaced by much more advanced versions. But it had started everything. Next to him, the latest model hummed quietly, its occupant helping to coordinate traffic between 1,000 worlds while getting a peaceful night's rest. The humans didn't conquer the galaxy with weapons or aggression, Red continued. They did it by showing us a better way. They proved that progress doesn't require constant motion. Sometimes the most powerful acts happen in moments of perfect stillness. The evidence was everywhere. Human colonies had spread faster and farther than any species in history, each expansion carefully planned and executed by sleeping minds. Their ships could travel farther, their systems worked better, and their problems were solved more efficiently than any others in known space. But the real change wasn't in the technology or the expansion. It was in how the galaxy now understood consciousness itself. Every species had found its own way to balance action and rest, movement and stillness. The humans hadn't just shared their sleep. They had started a revolution in how beings thought about existence itself. In the chamber's sleep pods, human minds reached out across space and time, solving problems that would take awakened brains centuries to understand. They had learned to do this without losing what made sleep special: the peace, the rest, the dreams that had always been part of human nature. We stand at the beginning of a new age, Red said, his voice carrying across the galaxy through quantum channels first discovered by sleeping minds. Humanity has become the guardian of galactic civilization, not through force or dominance, but through dreams. They protect us, guide us, and help us grow, all while doing what their biology has always needed them to do: sleep. The screen showed the vast network of human colonies, each one a perfect blend of activity and rest. Ships moved in careful patterns calculated by sleeping minds. New technologies emerged from dream state discoveries. And through it all, humans simply did what they had always done: closed their eyes and drifted off to sleep. Stone watched a group of young aliens practicing their species' newly developed form of rest. They weren't trying to copy human sleep anymore. They had found their own path. That was humanity's real gift to the galaxy, showing that every species could find its own way to touch the universe's deeper consciousness. Red finished his speech with words that would be remembered for generations. The humans didn't need to change who they were to conquer the galaxy. They didn't need to give up their need for sleep or try to be more like other species. They simply needed to understand that what seemed like their greatest weakness was actually their greatest strength. They became the galaxy's guardians by being exactly what they always were: a species that dreams. In sleep pods across the galaxy, billions of humans drifted in peaceful slumber, their minds reaching out to touch the stars. They had finally found their place in the universe, not by fighting their nature, but by embracing it completely. The sleeping giants had awakened to their true power, and the galaxy was better for it.